Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, the Baltimore Ravens and the 2025 offseason. Let's talk. So the Baltimore Ravens have did some early work, as I mentioned earlier in another video, where they signed Ronnie Stanley, they re-signed Patrick Ricard, and they picked up DeAndre Hopkins. And I've seen a mixed bag of reactions. Some people liked the DeAndre Hopkins signing, some people didn't like it. Some people liked the Patrick Ricard signing, some people didn't like it. And even some people liked the Ronnie Stanley signing and others did not like it. Either way you feel about it, either side of the fence you fall on, like or dislike, the Baltimore Ravens at least got off to what I would say is a solid start to free agency. And they did so without any major losses to the core. And that's whatever you can consider the core being. You know, when you look at the offensive side of the ball, 4 of 5 offensive linemen are returning. When you look at the quarterback position, we already know what that is. When you look at the backfield, nobody of major importance was lost. You know, you still got Henry, you still got Hill, you still got Mitchell, and then whatever becomes of Ali, he's still there as well. When you look at the tight end room, it's still intact. Andrews, Likely, and Kolar. When you look at the wide receiver room, it's now Zay, Bate, Hopkins, and Tez. And so you absolutely see a team that can go out right now offensively and compete with anybody. When you look at the defense side of the ball, of course, we just learned a couple of hours back that Michael Pierce did leave. We'll talk about that in more depth here in a second, but the front is still mostly intact. The linebacker room is still mostly intact as it pertains to how it started last season with whoever was the starters. When you look at the secondary, 3 of the 5 guys who started the season last year are also back. Or, let me make a correction, 3 of the 5. Take 3, go. And when you look at the secondary, there is going to be 3 of 4 starters back of who ended the season last year. And that's tentatively because we don't know about Adarius Washington just yet. But when you look at the team and how, we went through the offense and defense, we have 90% of our team back. And a lot of teams could not say that. In fact, a lot of teams broke down their team from last year and lost some big name players, vital parts of the team based on contracts and things of that nature. And we have not had to do that yet. Now, I will acknowledge a day of reckoning will come. A day where the Baltimore Ravens have to make some of the same tough decisions as other teams is on the horizon. When you look at a team like the Los Angeles Chargers, who let go of both of their edge rushers from last year, Khalil Mack, and then they released Joey Bosa. They're starting brand new on the edge. When you look at speaking of the Chargers, they did the same thing for wide receivers last year. They let go of both Mike Williams and also Keenan Allen. When you look at a team, let's say like the Buffalo Bills, who let go of a lot of major components last season and they still were competitive. Because why? Because that bill had to be paid at some point. When we look at the Seattle Seahawks, they have gotten rid of a lot of their starters from last year, especially major contributors like Geno. They traded away. DK Metcalf, they traded away. But they did sign Sam Darnold. So they're looking at a whole new regime. And so we're going to see what they look like when they hit the field in 2025. And why? Why would they make those kind of drastic changes? Even in the context of the Minnesota Vikings, why would the Vikings choose to let a 14-game winner from last year go in order to basically start the rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy, who lost his entire rookie season? Why would they do that, right? Here's why. Because no matter how great an individual player is, if I'm not winning with you or I'm not getting closer to the ultimate goal with you, then at some point you have what's called a dead or a dying contract. For that team in particular, a dead or dying contract, as you've heard me say before, is a contract that no longer returns its investment. And so, yes, can some of the players that were on the move this season still make an impact? Absolutely. But for that particular squad and for that particular amount of money, they could no longer do that. And so the Baltimore Ravens will have that day. They will. There's going to be no other choice for the Baltimore Ravens but to run into that time frame. That's part of the reason why you see a team like the Cincinnati Bengals willing to trade Trey Hendrickson. Why? Because he's a top-notch pass rusher, and the return for draft capital can certainly net them 2 or 3 picks, maybe, and then they should be able to replenish his spot, not replace him, but just fill in his spot, and eventually they'll be back to their normal defensive ways. When you look at a team like the Cleveland Browns, their day of reckoning is coming. They're going to have a bill to pay with Deshaun Watson. They've already begun that process. They moved on from from the right guard. They moved on from Nick Chubb, and you're going to see them have to pay the bill that's coming due. A team like the Denver Broncos bit the bullet, so to speak, last year, moved off of Russell Wilson, and it was better for both. It was better for Wilson, and it was better for the Broncos, who made the playoffs. And so they've been able to just get back to replenishing that roster with that money that was cleared up for moving on from Russell Wilson. So I do see that day coming, but that day is not right yet. I have not seen any news that the Baltimore Ravens in particular have made any restructures. I haven't seen them make any extensions, but I do see those coming. I do see those coming as we move further and further away from the start of the new season. A couple of things to make mention for the Baltimore Ravens is they are in a very tricky spot. And that tricky spot is, what are they going to do with Marlon Humphrey? Marlon Humphrey's coming off a resurgent season, a Pro Bowl season. And most of us had thought that they would restructure his deal or extend him to get that cap number low. And quite possibly he could take a hometown discount. But I think the hometown discount for Marlon Humphrey has just gone out the window. When the cornerback market has been reset, starting with J.C. Horn at $25 million, you're going to have Sauce Gardner coming up pretty soon, whether it's this season or next season. He's going to move above J.C. Horn. He's going to be in that $27 to $30 million range at corner. When you see a guy like Reeder and Davis get upwards of $20 million, then that's exactly what Marlon Humphrey is going to be looking for too, even in an extension. And so again, like I said, that bill has to be paid. So do we restructure Marlon Humphrey to something like 4 years and $80 million, putting him at $20 million a year? Is he worth that? Do we keep him for one more year and then trade him? That's going to be a big question for the Baltimore Ravens. I think you're going to see them dip into the cornerback market in free agency. I think you're also going to see them do something in the draft because I don't know if they want to invest that kind of money in a 30-year-old cornerback. He's not 30. I think he's about 28 or 29, but he's approaching 30. And he does have an injury history. You guys let me know. Do you guys foresee the Ravens re-upping the Marlon Humphrey contract to 3 or 4 years and paying him an APY of $20 million? Or do you see the possibility of them extending him in order to trade him at some point between this year and next season? When you look at a guy like Kyle Hamilton, who is one of the big names that's going to be due a contract, the Marlon Humphrey restructure or extension will absolutely have to get out of the way so that Kyle Hamilton can be paid, who will reset the safety market. Kyle Hamilton absolutely will do that. And so when you look at a guy like Odafe, right, because the ceiling and the floor for the edge rush position was reset at least 3 times over the last couple of seasons. You know, Nick Bosa reset it, and then you had Max Crosby reset it this year, and then you had Myles Garrett reset it again. So the range for top-notch edge rushers is going to be ranging in between $30 and now $40 million. Now, I know you may be saying, well, Odafe ain't no top-notch edge rusher. He's not. But as the top-end guys, as their salaries raise, that's going to bring the middle tier and the lower tier edge rushers, that's going to bring their price up also. And so if he comes in with another double-digit sack season again this season, he's going to raise his price up to between 17 to 22 million. That's what his price is going to be. The question then has to become, is he worth that? Is the ROI going to be worth that the investment into Odafe and what he's going to actually be producing on the field. Big time question. And we're just on the defense side of the ball, right? The interesting thing, guys, that I noticed over the first basically 3 days of the tampering period, and now the season has begun, basically, is that nobody gave $100 million to big time linebackers. That's pretty strange. It seems like only the Baltimore Ravens are giving that kind of money out to inside linebackers. You've seen some big deals. You know, you see them hitting. Take 5. Nobody is giving out big money deals to interior linebackers other than the Ravens. You've seen some good deals go to interior linebackers, but nothing like what Roquan got. He reset the market, and then that was it, right? There is going to be no trend that follows that interior linebacker dollar amount, because your real money on defense is always paid edge, corner, interior, safety. Now, with more dynamic safeties coming out over the next couple of seasons, you're going to see that safety number go up more and more. But the money on defense should always be invested in the edge, because they're the ones who can disrupt and wreck a game, not a middle linebacker. So I think it was absolutely a hiccup. I just want to make mention of that as we're talking about markets being reset. And so, man, it's just going to be super, super interesting what happens with Odafe. It's going to be super, super interesting what happens with Travis Jones, because in order to pay Odafe means you have to sacrifice probably Travis Jones, who just now became more important to the Baltimore Ravens as Michael Pierce has now retired. And so we have a guy right now who can just step right in and be a full-time starter. And our defensive front is going to be intact: Meta BK, Travis Jones, and right now Broderick Washington. But because Travis Jones is a free agent at the end of next season, and he's going to have a lot of suitors, that's going to be another question mark. And I think we need to draft at least 2 D tackles this season to have them primed and ready just in case Travis Jones leaves. It's just really a true thing. Or will they get off of Broderick Washington next season in order to keep Travis Jones? So this is, man, a season where you've seen big money paid out. And although we've escaped that for the most part, right? Ronnie Stanley's deal looks like a really good deal based on what other people are getting paid. The DeAndre Hopkins deal probably should have came in around 10 to 12, but to get him for $5 to $6 million, that's a really good deal. You know, Patrick Ricard's deal is pretty good. You know, he only really cost us $1 million against the cap, something like that. But it's not necessarily going to be this season that's going to be super taxing. It's going to be next season and how new contracts are going to be negotiated. We jump to the offensive side of the ball since we're talking about free agency. You know, Tyler Lindenbaum. You know, what is his market going to be? I know what his market value is, but can the Baltimore Ravens afford to pay him his full market value? I think for a young guy who's going to be up for his first contract, there will be no hometown discount. And so the good thing is we have him for the next 2 years. He'll definitely get his 5th-year option picked up. And there's a question mark after that, right? And I know I'm far out in some aspects of the future, but as we're seeing these prices come in, man, it's really going to make our next subject super, super important. All right, so let's look at offensively. No tight ends are getting a new deal right now. There's no big names getting a new deal. Nobody's eligible for extension that I can think of. And so Isaiah Likely is going to, I believe, set the market for the next phase of tight ends to get paid. I think he's going to come in between 14 and 16 million. Only because that's the comparable price tag of what Mark Andrews got before him. And so I think it's a real question. I really think it's a real question if the Baltimore Ravens actually retain him. I don't want Isaiah Likely to be a Darren Waller type situation where he goes to another team and then become a Pro Bowler. Let's see what else. When you look at the wide receiver position, right? We got a problem brewing. And that problem is you got Bate coming up in a year or so, but you also got Zay coming up in a year or so. They're both going to need contract extensions. And as you see, the floor and the ceiling for the wide receiver market is being raised. When you see a guy like, for example, a Devontae Adams goes out to the Los Angeles Rams and get a 2-year, I think it's $46 million, something like that. That's $23 million for a 33-year-old wide receiver. Now he still can ball, but that speaks to the price tag and the market for top-notch receivers. When you see a guy like DK Metcalf come in and get $30 million over the course of 5 seasons, 30 million APY, that kind of speaks to the value. When you see, guys who already got money paid to them, like a AJ Brown, like a Justin Jefferson, and then soon to be Jamar Chase, we're going to really see what the market looks like. But what that does, like I said, for the edge rushers, as their ceiling and their floor gets raised, it's also going to bring the mid-tier and the lower level wide receivers along with the top-notch wide receivers. So everybody's going to get paid. And again, the cap is going up, but it's not going up enough to meet all the contracts that the Baltimore Ravens will have to pay. And we'll revisit all of those contracts in a minute. When you think about Rashad Bateman, he signed for kind of a mid-tier deal for a guy his caliber, but he's going to be in that $14 to $16 million range, especially if he puts on another year like he just did. Why? Because the floor and the ceiling are raised for receivers. And especially if Jamar Chase gets that $35, $40 million deal, man, it's going to raise it. So therefore, when you look at Zay, who's going into his 3rd season, coming off a Pro Bowl season, if he puts on another nice performance, another 1,000 yards, are the Baltimore Ravens going to be willing to pay him $25 to $30 million? Because that's going to be his market value. Now, he's not that upper echelon guys. He's not the AJ Brown. He's not the DK Metcalf, the Jamar Chase, maybe even not a T. Higgins necessarily. But he's in that next tier, which is going to pay him above what a guy like a Calvin Ridley got paid. And he got paid $24 million or something like that per year. And so as you see these contracts that the Baltimore Ravens are going to need to make happen, basically within 1 to 2 seasons, it makes the draft this season super important and the draft next season super important. So let's get into that. So when you think about the draft this season, why it's important, we have to look at the last 2 drafts. In the 2023 draft, we came out of that draft with Zay. 3rd round pick would have been Trent Simpson, who has not shown anything that says he's going to solidify the interior linebacking spot. And then Tavius Robinson. That's as far as I'll go with that particular draft. So coming from that draft, you got just Zay and just Tavius Robinson, basically, who have some elements of long-term productivity with the Baltimore Ravens, okay? So then when you come to the 2024 draft, you only have 2 guys out of that draft, right? I'm just talking about right now. And that's, Nate Wiggins, and then that's also Roger Rosengarten, right? So out of 2 drafts and roughly 15 players, give or take, you only have 4 guys who have shown that they have the ability to make an impact. Adisa Isaac, Tez Walker, TJ Tampa. Yeah, those guys could show something in their 2nd year. We hope that they show something. But as of right now, we have no evidence that they're going to show nothing. Just like we don't have any evidence that Trent Simpson from the 2023 draft is going to really show us anything. So this year's draft creates a level of desperation to really hit on the picks. The Baltimore Ravens need to hit on their first 4 picks. Now, when I say hit, I'm talking about these need to be guys who can step in from the beginning and make an impact rotationally. I think as of right now, I'm going to bring out my mock draft probably tomorrow. But I think right now, the 1st round pick is going to be between edge and corner, unless an unforeseen thing happens and one of the top-notch offensive linemen drop, one of the tackles drop, and we can slide him in at left guard or something like that. I think it's going to be edge or cornerback. I think the 2nd round pick is going to be whatever doesn't get picked in the 1st round. It's going to be edge or it's going to be corner. I think the only thing that makes us pick anything different in that 1st round is safety Nick Imawari, I probably got his name wrong. If he drops, I think the Baltimore Ravens absolutely will take him, no questions asked, because that would form the best safety duos in the entire league. And so I think those are going to be our first two picks, corner and edge, either way, first or second round. I think the third round is going to probably be between safety and guard. I think that's what the third round is going to look like. Now, I believe that the Baltimore Ravens, depending on who drops to 27, I think personally they should trade back. In the context, here's context. If we finish the work that we need to finish in free agency and we pick up an edge, we pick up a veteran corner, now we can truly go best player available. And so we could have multiple options at 27, or we can trade back and pick up something in the second or third round and be able to get those 4 picks that I talk about. But I think this draft is super vital, because we're going to need these guys to have proven rotational value, because when we get to the 2026 offseason, right, you're going to see Ronnie Stanley's contract value go up. You're going to see Lamar Jackson's contract value go up. You're going to see Roquan Smith's contract value go up. Meta BK's contract value go up. And then it's going to really be time to put pen to paper and sign some contracts for Hamilton, Linderbaum, Likely, who else? Travis Jones possibly. Zay will have completed his third, so they'll just pick up his 5th-year option basically. Let me see who else. It'll be time to talk about a Lamar Jackson extension, unless he gets one this season. And so, man, we got a lot of work to do, a lot of questions to be answered. And so, man, it's going to be super important, man, that we hit on this draft and then we rebuild the trenches next season. I think 2026, along with this season, I'm not ignoring this season. I think 2026 will be the season that we rebuild the trenches. Because you know what, guys? I forgot about Daniel Falele. He's going to come into this next season as the starter, but he too is a free agent at the end of the season. At the end of the 25-26 season, he's also a free agent. So, man, we have a lot of questions to be answered. That's why this draft is super important. That's why dipping into the guard position a couple of different times is going to be super important. Not drafting already injured guys, not drafting projects, but drafting guys, not all rookies or projects, but drafting guys who have absolute starter potential. They were productive in college and they can come in and make an impact. I also think that this is a draft that we need to take a running back. And not just any running back, but a running back who could step in for Derrick Henry, because we do not know how these contract negotiations are going or will go. We definitely know that Derrick Henry has said he wants to retire a Raven, but what you want to do and what will happen is two different things. And I think what's going to upset that possibility, my hope is that they get a deal done, but I think what's going to upset that ability to retire a Raven is the fact that Saquon Barkley got that basically 2-year, $40 million deal, becoming the highest paid running back in the league. And Derrick Henry was not far behind him. But the factor for Derrick Henry not getting Saquon Barkley money, it's not just the 100-yard difference or 100 or so yard difference in Saquon Barkley's numbers, or the less than 100 yards to get 2,000 yards for Derrick Henry. It's just the age difference. And so I think that he is due a pay raise, but will what the Ravens offer be enough? Because we understand the Ravens have some trouble sometimes paying offensive players. And I don't think Derrick Henry is going to be much different. The benefit is he's already under contract, so we literally don't have to do anything. And not only the benefit, but the beautiful thing is he's under contract. His current price is already baked into whatever our cap situation is. So it doesn't create crisis and it doesn't create panic. Now, with Derrick Henry sit out, I don't think so. It doesn't seem like his caliber. But I'm super interested to see when a contract gets done and if a contract gets done. So, man, a lot of news happening in the NFL, man. We're going to break down the AFC North. We're going to break down the AFC. We're going to talk about winners and losers. On Saturday morning, it's going to be kind of an extensive conversation. But while we're right here, man, let's see a little bit of what DeAndre Hopkins actually did from 2024-2025 season and see if we have anything to be excited about.
Second possession for the Chiefs, and that's Hopkins coming in tied for the most catches among active players with his new teammate, Travis Kelce, as he gets another. 2 plays, 2 completions, and a first down at the Tampa Bay 30. That one for 17. They don't get any more yardage. It's 3rd down and 8. Again, pressure. Mahomes was hit. Passes caught. Protection. Back of the end zone. Hopkins got him there.
Yeah, when you look at the DeAndre Hopkins film, this is kind of an aside. What you see is a guy who still can make some plays. He caught right at 600 yards worth of passes this season. I think he had 5 or 7 touchdowns somewhere in between there. So he had a productive season. And here's a benefit, man. He's not coming into Baltimore, as I'm thinking about his benefit, he's not coming into Baltimore having to be a number 1. He's not even having to be a number 2. He can just slot in at the number 3 position. 15 to 25 snaps a game is really all you need from DeAndre Hopkins, and red zone opportunities, 40 and in opportunities, meaning when you're on the opponent's side of the field, 40 and in opportunities for DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe it's 3rd and 5 and you need a play made. That's opportunity for him, right? And so I think that he could be super beneficial for us, especially if we're not relying upon him to be the guy. I think that what you saw in Tennessee, he was one of the guys, but their quarterback position was trash, and he battled with some injuries. You had Will Levis and some other dudes, and he was playing alongside Calvin Ridley and Treylon Burke, and so he didn't have to be the guy over there. But I think that's a little bit of what was expected. Then when he goes to the Chiefs, they needed him to be a guy because of all the injuries they had suffered, things of that nature. But now in Baltimore, if healthy, right, he can just slot in perfectly at the number 3 position and just keep it moving. I think he'll be a good mentor for a guy like Bate, for a guy like Tez Walker, and for a young guy, whoever we draft this season, simply because he can, teach them about some techniques, how to set up a defender, how to box out, all those kind of things. So I think he'd definitely be beneficial for Bate and Tez and the rookie. But why? Because they're all the same body type of receiver. Bate is about 6'1", 6'2", basically, and a little over 200 pounds. Tez is 6'1", over 200 pounds, and I believe we're going to draft a big body wide receiver in this draft simply because there are so many to choose from. I think we can't pass that opportunity. So, man, I know this was kind of a long video, but I wanted to get all of the conversation about the Ravens out, and I think that's it, man. So let me know what you guys want me to know, what you think about the signings. Do you like the signings? Do you hate the signings? Do you think the Baltimore Ravens could have done better? Or are you excited that they actually got some work done early in the offseason? What do you think about the potential contract situations coming up based on all the money that's being doled out now? And how do you think that's going to impact the Ravens? And then in a later conversation, man, we'll talk about some trades and things like that that may be upcoming for us as well. I'm your guy, Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.